Cultural appropriation is the adoption or use of the elements of one culture by members of another culture. It is perceived as disrespectful, thought to be a form of desecration, and often the original meaning or intent of the appropriated element of culture is distorted or lost. One can appropriate style, dance, and linguistics. Cultural appropriation occurs in mainstream media when members of one culture utilize elements of another to make a statement. Many different examples of cultural appropriation can be found in print media and television media today. For example, Gwen Stefani wearing traditional India garb or emulating Harajuku girls during her solo career. Other examples can be found in print ad campaigns in magazines, when models wear traditional Native American headdress or attire as a fashion statement. There have even been examples of traditional face painting being applied for purposes of entertainment. For this presentation, I'm focusing on cultural appropriation of African American culture by current pop stars. I'm going to keep my focus to 3 of the major pop stars and oft considered biggest offenders of cultural appropriation. Cultural appropriation is challenged in mainstream media as well. Nicki Minaj has criticized Miley Cyrus. Q-Tip has criticized Iggy Azalea. Q-Tip is a rapper. Iggy Azalea is also a rapper, but she's a white rapper from Australia, which I'll mention later. Macklemore has criticized Iggy Azalea and Miley Cyrus. Macklemore is also a white rapper. Katy Perry has been publicly challenged quite often as well. Macklemore raps on his song White Privilege 2. You've exploited and stolen the music, the moment, the magic, the passion, the fashion you toy with. The culture was never yours to make better. You're Miley, you're Elvis, you're Iggy Azalea. You've heisted the magic, you've taken the drums and the accent you rap in. Your brand of hip-hop is so fascist and backwards that Grandmaster Flash is going to slap you, you bastard. Miley Cyrus, there's an image of Miley Cyrus as the daughter of a country music star. She launched her television career in 2006 as Hannah Montana on the Disney Channel. She's a 24-year-old American pop star, multi-platinum recording artist. Miley is described as having recreated herself as a pornified star who wore gold grills on her teeth and introduced the world to twerking. This is quite a departure from her Hannah Montana days when she was considered to be quote-unquote good girl, if you will. Miley is credited with introducing the world to twerking, although the dance did originate in black circles in the South, and it involves a woman sort of squatting and pushing out her backside and then shaking it up and down. Nicki Minaj is quoted in a New York Times article as saying, as sort of calling Miley out because in 2014, I believe, Miley Cyrus and Taylor Swift were nominated for Video Music Awards for very cookie-cutter American pop songs, and Nicki Minaj was, in her mind, kind of passed over. And Nicki stated that, clearly you get recognition and noticed by MTV if you're a skinny white girl who sings about kind of vanilla USA kind of stuff. And both Miley and Taylor took issue with Nicki's statements. However, Nicki's quoted as saying, "The fact that you feel upset about me speaking on something that affects black women makes me feel like you have some big balls." Minaj goes on to say, "You're in videos with black men and you're bringing out black women on your stage, but you don't want to know how black women feel about something that's so important?" Minaj continues, "Come on, you can't want the good without the bad. If you want to enjoy the culture and the lifestyle, bond with us, dance with us, have fun with us, twerk with us, rap with us, then you should also want to know what affects us, what is bothering us, what we feel is unfair to us. You shouldn't not want to know that." And that's kind of a direct hit at saying, you can't have the culture and the looks and the style for fun. You have to know what's important to us and what we're really all about. Iggy Azalea is a 26-year-old white female rapper who is from Australia. And what's important about Iggy being from Australia is that she often raps in a very kind of typically associated with slang and hip hop accent, although her speaking voice is still very much Australian. Q-Tip is a rapper from the early 90s, late 80s probably, early 90s. And he tweeted at Iggy, "Hip hop is an artistic and socio-political movement culture that sprang from the disparate ghettos of New York in the early 70s," sort of alluding to the fact that, Iggy couldn't possibly relate to the culture that she's emulating at this point. Katy Perry is often considered to be one of the largest cultural appropriators of our time, and she doesn't restrict her cultural appropriation to strictly African American culture, but for this presentation we'll focus on that. She's a 32-year-old American singer-songwriter. She has a very religious background. Her parents are both incredibly religious, and she grew up singing in church. Here's a picture of Miley Cyrus rocking dreadlocks. She's worn dreadlocks on more than one occasion as kind of a fashion statement. She's often performs with dancers who have kind of a cartoonish version of a typical, stereotypical African American body type. Sort of a very large rear end or very exaggerated hairstyle. Miley contends that she doesn't keep certain people, producers and dancers around because she believes it will make her look cool. Miley states, "Those aren't my accessories, they're my homies." Use of the term homies is cultural appropriation in and of itself. Katy Perry, here's two examples of Katy Perry's kind of flagrant cultural appropriation with gold teeth, quote-unquote grills, and braids, and very exaggerated makeup, and then again with the just garish smile in the image on the right. In an article on Mic.com, the reporter offers 5 reasons why Katy Perry is the worst cultural appropriator of today's time. Katy, however, refers to her imitations as flattery. She wonders, can't we just appreciate culture? Except her version of appreciating culture is one that some find quite offensive. These two images are stills from Katy Perry's video, "This Is How We Do." You can see she's holding up the peace sign, although it's called deuces in kind of the Urban Dictionary when it's, flashed backwards and just up, deuces. And she's there with watermelon, which is one of the most offensive and remedial stereotypes of African American culture. And then again in the image on the right with the very tight braids and the slicked down baby hairs, kind of a very trendy hairstyle for African American women and girls. Here's Miley twerking, and again, she's been credited with sort of introducing the world to this dance style, but as you can see, the dancer in this image, Miley appears almost miniature behind this dancer. So she's, illustrating a big black woman with a big black butt twerking on stage with Miley behind her. So here's an image of Iggy Azalea, and this is kind of to describe appropriation of language, both linguistic language and body language. So both speaking and sort of the language you put out there into the world with your physicality. Iggy often speaks She raps in interviews. I'm sorry. Iggy often speaks in interviews using slang, although the linguistics when she's doing a speaking interview are typically her Australian accent. But when she raps with a very specific and deliberate style of speaking that is often associated with the hip hop culture. Eve, who is another female rapper, calls the phenomenon of mimicking the hip hop linguistics a black scent as opposed to an accent. And Iggy is often criticized for the attention she pays to her backside, which is a stereotypical African American body type slash style. Iggy's style of speak and manner of rapping have been called verbal blackface by rapper Jean Grae, so considered to be very disrespectful, and really, as I said, not an homage, but more of a deliberate production, if you will. And that is the end of my presentation. Hope you enjoy.